most of the suicidal men that I work with, their mind isn't malfunctioning. They genuinely have a life that is no longer worth living. They're looking at things and objectively realizing that there's no way out of the situation. So they turn to suicide. So I know it's kind of like a very controversial statement, but I think that's what my clinical practice has shown. And there's some research to even back that up.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily here on the Audacity Network. For anyone that cares, I passed book 2 in piano. Woo! I'm officially on book 3. You guys are probably thinking, Pearl, I don't care. And I understand that, you know. But black fatigue. Shaniqua, please take out the weave. Black fatigue, black fatigue. Shaniqua, please take out the weave. All right, I want to tell you guys about my random thoughts of the day. So when I was younger, I might have said this in another coffee talk or I talk for a living, right? I lose track of what I said. There's nothing worse than talking for a living because people will quote back to you what you said. And at times you say some fucked up stuff. You know, when I talk for hours and hours at a time, I mean, God only knows what I'm going to say, right? Jesus Christ only knows. But at times I'll have people say, Pearl, you said this or you said that. And I'm like, well, did I say that? Sounds like something I would say. Yeah. I'm getting into pantry organization and getting systems in place so I can easily cook better. I think that's like the final boss of cooking when you're like, I need to fix this system. It's not just one thing. It's like the full system. Finished my guitar book. They're taking down the basketball court at my gym. Sad. Nothing I can do. I think it's over. I have about 2 weeks left of my only social life really here. I guess I'll have to find a new way to make friends. It is what it is, right? I think I'm getting too disconnected from normal society, right? I think I've been able to talk freely for a little bit too long. Just a couple years too long. Because I'll say I'll go back, you know, I'm in my cave, right? I'm in my lair. I don't really like go anywhere else much other than my lair, you know. It's like it's usually just my here, right? Here and then the gym. But I was at the gym the other day and I was talking to somebody about women spending too much money. And I was talking about how a lot of men wouldn't be in debt from their credit cards. Like a lot of men wouldn't have debt if they could just take away their woman's credit card. And the guy's like, I like my wife spending or something like that. And I was just thinking, why are we in a world where we can't just admit water is wet, the sky is blue, women are big fat whores that spend too much money and bring nothing to society and are pretty useless? And I mean, like, why can't I just say that normally without, you know, white knighting? Just seems like everyone's getting really, really weird. Gotta find my and it's also, you know, I was thinking about also how men care about like men being good people, but women love criminals and bad people. And therefore, the incentive is going to be that now women that do terrible things are going to get money and power. Like there was some rich chick who scammed like all of the elites in New York City or something. I guess she just got out of jail. And now she's famous and becoming a celebrity. And I don't know who Sky King is. I didn't know till recently. I want to do a live debate and a meet and greet in your city. The problem is I don't have any of your contact information, nor do I know what city you guys are in. So make sure you fill out the form in the description. Just click, it's a Google form, the link's in the description, so we can contact you when we have an event in your city. Thanks, guys. If women and men are equally bad, then why don't women and men make equally bad decisions, right? The chat always distracts me. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, I've had positive experiences with Facebook Marketplace. Everyone's told me how I'm going to have a terrible experience, but it's been pretty good so far. Like nobody's really said they're coming and didn't come yet. I've sold a few things that I'm like, oh, get rid of this junk. I sold a lamp for ungodly cheap today. It was like $5, but I was like, I do not need this lamp. I was thinking about how I've always felt like I thought deeper about things than other people. I don't know. Maybe, as a woman, I know I'm prone to be narcissistic, but do other people think of this stuff? Like, do they think about how women are ruining everything in society? Like, why am I the only woman that seems to notice? Do other women not notice? Because I'm just like, guys, I don't know how you could be alive past like 25 and not notice that we're retarded. All right, so let's get into the topic. So today we're going to talk about Sky King. Now, last night, I got on TikTok and I accidentally stayed up till 4 a.m. It's why I kind of look homeless today. Because I watched this Sky King video like probably 30 times. I could not stop watching this video on Sky King. So Sky King was this guy who did bags at the airport. You guys know I'm bad with names. You guys are he was one of those guys that takes the bags and throws them into wherever the hell the bags go. Okay, on the thing. I'm bad with names. Okay, take it or leave it. So he was a low status guy, and low status men just are not treated the best by society. A lot of times high status men don't really understand what they're going through. A lot of times high status men just tell them to buckle up their bootstraps and be better. High status men never take their issues seriously with women. Women can treat them like shit. And the high status men are like, well, what are you talking about? They're amazing to me. Yeah, ground crew, baggage handlers. Yeah. And I guess one day he just crashed out and he stole a plane. And this normal guy took a plane, decided he was going to kill himself, and just rode this giant plane around for like 2 hours and then crashed it on an island. And before he died, and this is what I mean, men, even low status men, this is how I feel, and this is just anecdotal. I believe that most men are insanely intelligent at something. Now, I had a relative that was not seen as the most intelligent person in the world. I'll just say this. They were not, the family kind of believed this person was not that smart. But this person, like one day I got him talking about, I think it was like rocks or some like something that I just never would have cared about in my life. Do you know what I mean? Like rocks, like whatever. And listening to this guy talk about, like, it was either rock, I think it was history, like the dirt levels on whatever. Again, I barely remember because it was just so outside of my interest. But I remember sitting there and thinking, everyone thinks this guy's kind of dumb. But this is like something that nobody else would ever know. Like, this is really intelligent. And even men that like are lower maybe status in society or don't have high paying jobs, they seem to like be really good at something. And I don't see this with women. Like, I don't see women, if women are low status, like fat losers, right? Or even high status women whose debt hasn't caught up to them yet, they have like no skills. And I've noticed that even low status men, like if you put them in the right environment, sorry, I don't want to say it like that, but like even men that are quiet or whatever, a lot of times, like in the right environment with a little encouragement, they're like funny. Like it's like that quiet guy and you bring him around his friends. And then all of a sudden you're like, he's like a charismatic, funny, and you're just thinking, you know, if you acted like this normally, you'd probably get some bitches. Do you know what I mean? Like you would get a ton of like, I mean, women, ladies in the chat, have you ever seen that? Like you have a male friend that you just would never, but then you see him in a different environment and you're like, huh. I mean, usually once you're in a box, it's very tough to move for us. But like occasionally that box moves because we're like, oh, I didn't know what you were like when you weren't being a simp, right? Like I didn't know what you were like when you weren't simping the fuck out. I didn't even know, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if that makes sense. But and this is just like in general, right? Men, a lot of times it seems like, especially white guys, society just hasn't given them the tools to thrive. It just seems like that, right? Because they go to school and it's a completely female-centric education system. It's completely catered to women. Like, for example, I kind of thought like a man in high school in a way. I would always skip my first and second period. And I'd always skip my first and second period because I could get good grades without going. And this is kind of how men think. Like, why would I waste my time if I don't have to go? And I could still, like, to the point, my English teacher tried to fail me because I would still do good on the tests, but I wouldn't show up to class. And I'm like, it's not my fault that you're not teaching me anything I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, anyways. But that's like a male way to think. And when and this is kind of a bad example because, I mean, I was kind of being an ass, right, in a way. But in a way, like, men don't want to waste their time, and the school system requires men to waste their time. It's required. Like because attendance is a lot of times part of grades. That benefits women because women will show up on time, but we can't figure out the solution to anything. And I'm sure it's probably frustrating just watching women be handed things. It's why I think half the guys in the RP space, they're just not big fans of me. And I can understand it, right? A lot of these men have built courses, but I'm just a girl talking about her observations. And I have more subs than Rolo Tomat. That's not fair, right? He's way smarter, more intelligent, you know, way. But, you know, that's just kind of how society's set up. And it just seems like society is not set up for men and average men to showcase what they're good at. Because this is a gut feeling, but I feel like a lot of times if the reins were let off and women just let men have the jobs, take over a lot of things, that men would just take off and they could just fix a lot of problems, you know. I got tired of going to school. I literally Christmas tree and passed the GED test. Yeah. And like I met someone at my gym and he told me that he didn't know he was smart. He was like a dishwasher. This guy was a dishwasher. And then he randomly took, he was a white guy, dishwasher, whatever. He randomly took the air traffic controller test. And then that's like a very difficult high IQ test. I can't remember what percent of people passed, but it's a very small minority. Randomly took it, didn't study, and passed as a waiter, right? With like a psych degree. It just seems like that's something that only happens to white men, because if a black guy's brilliant or a woman's brilliant, there's so much attention, so much credit given to them. Only white men, and I, you know, anecdotally, I find white guys like this all the time, where they just, you know, they're not really doing that well in life. Not bad, but like, you know, it just seems like how smart they are, they should be further in society, you know. Women dominated all the HR departments and hired all submissive Indians to secure power. I'm sure they did. And I meet men like this all the time, where they're not that high in society, but it seems like they should be further. So anyways, this guy steals a plane, right? And before he dies, he does a double barrel roll. And I don't know anything about planes, but this guy just randomly played video games and learned how to fly a plane. I'm going to react to the video. But I just couldn't. This guy was a normal guy. He was married. He had kids. He was doing the baggage thing. And he just crashes out, does an incredible pilot trick, and then kills himself. And you almost are like, you're almost watching that being like, why aren't you a pilot? Why aren't you? I mean, if you're intelligent enough, and listening to him talk, he's like funny, he's like cracking jokes, he seems confident. It's like, why was this guy a baggage guy? And I think that maybe that's part of like what it is. It's like, it's got to be really like, okay, now again, this is not the same. I remember when I was a sophomore in college. Okay, I transferred in from my freshman year in college. I went to one school, and I was freshman of the year, all conference, but I was bullied kind of bad on my volleyball team. The girls just, for whatever reason, didn't like me. I was kind of cocky. I thought I was better than all of them in a way, and I kind of was, so it didn't help, right? I got all these accolades. I'd get all tournament like every other tournament, you know. And these girls just did not like me. They did not. Whatever I did, they did. So I transferred school. I probably shouldn't have in hindsight. When I went to this new school, and the coaches didn't recruit me. I just transferred. But I was competing with a girl who she could touch 10 feet tall, but she just wasn't that good. So she could jump really, really high. And I could jump to 9'10", but my bounce, like I never was very flexible. Now that I'm older, I know I thought it was genetic back then, but I just couldn't bounce really quick. But I remember there were times when I hit like 600, which is really high. Like a middle 300 is like a 300 kill percentage. But there were times when I hit 600, or I got all tournament at this new school. And the coaches would just bench me because they thought that this other girl was going to be really good someday because she could jump high and she had like potential, right? They saw more potential in her than me. And this went on. I worked so hard and it didn't matter. Like, do you know what it's like to get all tournament off the bench? Like they tried to sit me. The girls sucked. They put me in. I get all tournament off the bench. And it didn't matter what I did. It did not matter how I played. They would not start me over her. And she ended up quitting like 2 days before the NCAA tournament. I was so pissed. Regardless, that's the most frustrated I think I ever was in my life. When it was like, because I felt so out of control. Like, it didn't matter how hard I worked. It didn't matter how I performed. They just did not see it. And I was so like, I just remember this anger like bubbling in me. Oh my God, I outworked her. Oh my God. Yes. For women, I can always outwork women. But I was thinking about how that feeling has to be how men feel for their whole lives, because women and minorities, especially white men, are just given. You just watch them being like given things, and you are like working your ass off. Well, they're just given things, you know. It's got to be frustrating. Now, I don't know if that's what like made this guy do. I don't know. Yeah, and I did beat her out at the end, but it was like it was like after. Oh my God, it was like hell on earth. And then the next year, I got all conference again. I was so pissed. Okay, so I would love Doug MPA. I want him to explain why he thinks this guy committed suicide, because I can only speculate. But when I think of men that commit suicide, they're going through a divorce. They're going through a divorce. They're young guys with nothing to lose. This guy had friends. This guy was married. He loved his wife, and he just, you know. The tragic story of Sky King. In 2018, Richard Russell made news headlines for stealing and subsequently crashing a 76-passenger plane straight out of Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. He since attained the moniker Sky King. Many wondered how he managed to keep the plane in the air without any formal flight training. Others asked what would motivate him to do such a thing in the first place. Here's what we don't know. Who was Richard Russell? Richard Russell was a ground service agent for Horizon Air, a subsidiary of Alaska Airlines, who infamously stole and fatally crashed an airplane, earning the moniker Sky King. According to his blog, Russell was born in Key West, Florida, and moved to Wasilla, Alaska at the age of 7. Russell met his future wife, Hannah Stacener, while attending Southwestern Oregon Community College in Oregon. The couple ran a bakery for 3 years before moving to Summer, Washington to be closer to family. We consider ourselves bakery connoisseurs and have to try a new one every place we go, Russell wrote. Russell's job with Horizon Air allowed him to travel and visit family in Alaska more frequently. While working for Horizon as a ground service agent, Russell also attended Washington State University, graduating with a degree in social sciences in 2017. Once I earned my bachelor's in social sciences, I will either seek management position where I'm at now or possibly join the military as an officer, Russell wrote at the age of 27. Richard Russell's unauthorized flight from Seattle-Tacoma Airport. On August 10th, 2018 at 2:36 p.m., ground service agent Richard Russell arrived on a Seattle-Tacoma International Airport for his scheduled shift of towing planes and cargo for Horizon Air. At 7:19, Russell climbed inside a Horizon Air Q400 aircraft. Being in the cockpit was nothing new for Russell, who had spent the past 3.5 years towing planes around the airport and knew how to operate the plane's auxiliary power unit and maneuver aircraft on land. But that evening, he decided to fly. At 7:33 p.m., Russell took off from the airport. For the next 1 hour and 13 minutes, Russell, who had no formal flight training, flew around the Seattle area, visiting Mount Rainier and the Olympic Mountains. These guys are gorgeous. Holy smokes, he said over the radio. He also tried some tricks. Hey, pilot guy, can this thing do a backflip, you think? Russell asked a nearby pilot. After a successful barrel roll, Russell refused to land the plane and said, I was kind of hoping that was going to be it, you know. At 8:46 p.m., his plane crashed on Ketron Island in Puget Sound, and Russell died. He was 28 years old. According to an FBI press report, Russell's crash was intentional. If the pilot had wanted to avoid impact with the ground, he had time and energy to pull the column back, raise the nose, and initiate a climb. The press release reads. So why didn't he? Russell's death came as a shock to his family, and questions remain about his motivations. Here's what we do and don't know about the incident. Did Russell know how to fly a plane? Russell did not have a pilot's license or any formal training. However, through his job, he had basic knowledge of how to start a plane. When an air traffic controller asked Russell if he felt comfortable flying the plane, he responded, "It's a blast, man. I played video games before, so I know what I'm doing a little bit." According to the FBI, Russell also searched for flight instruction videos online, but his flight knowledge was limited. When an air traffic controller asked Russell if he was able to tell his altitude, Russell said, "I have no idea what all that means. I wouldn't know how to punch it in." Russell's death was ruled as a suicide. After its investigation, the medical examiner's office noted that there is sufficient evidence to conclude that the death was intentional. Russell made several statements during the flight that suggested his intention to crash, including, "I'm going to try to do a barrel roll, and if that goes good, I'm just going to nose down and call it a night." Did Russell have an accomplice? No. Russell worked alone to steal and crash the aircraft. According to the FBI, extensive investigative activity failed to reveal any additional subjects involved the planning or execution of an unauthorized flight. Why did Russell steal and crash the plane? Although Russell's motivations remain unknown, there are several theories as to why he may have stolen and crashed the aircraft. Fear of imprisonment. During the flight, Russell expressed concern about the legal consequences of his actions. This is probably jail time for life, huh? I mean, I hope it would be for a guy like me. Fuel anxiety. Throughout his flight, Russell expressed concern that he would run out of fuel or that something was wrong with the plane. "I've got to stop looking at that fuel because it's going to go down quick," he said. Physical discomfort and disorientation. Russell experienced lightheadedness and dizziness during his flight and even threw up at one point. Mental health issues. Although the FBI investigation did not find evidence that Russell was suicidal prior to his flight, he hinted at mental health struggles in the air. "I'm just a broken guy with a few screws loose, I guess, but I never knew it until now." Did Russell like his job? Russell enjoyed the travel benefits of his job with Horizon Air, including trips to Alaska to visit his family. But he also complained about being underpaid. Russell's team was paid below CTAC's standard 15 an hour minimum wage, a fact he mentioned in the air. Minimum wage, we'll chalk it up to that. Maybe that will grease some gears a bit with the higher ups. The Richard Russell who stole a plane in 2018 is not to be confused with Senator Richard Russell, who died in 1971 at the age of 73. Okay, they're just going to talk about that. Okay, now we're going to watch the video. Let me see. Here we go. Okay.
Hi, I'm Bebo Russell, and I'm a ground service agent. That means I lift a lot of bags.
He had a college degree in social sciences.
Like a lot of bags. So many bags. Look at all them bags. Ooh, a purple one. I usually have to work outside in this, but it allows me to do some pretty cool things too.
Seattle grounds, Horizon guy, about to take off. It's going to be crazy.
Aircraft on Charlie, lining up runway 16 center, say your call sign. The Dash 8 on runway 16 center, say your call sign. The Dash 8 on runway 16 center, say your call sign. Who's the Dash 8 holding on runway 16 center?
The guy in Alaska, 322. That aircraft was cast behind the horizon when he was taking off rolling. I don't know what he was doing.
Who's the aircraft on runway 16 center?
Wheels are smoking left and right as they are right now. He's rolling down the runway.
All right, I'm not even talking to him.
He came flying out of the cargo area in front of dumping.
Came out of cargo area 1. There's just a single pilot.
Yeah, Tara, we can verify that too. He ain't flying out of nowhere. We thought this somebody calling it
him in front of us, but he came flying in.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, you need to call and scramble now.
No, we are.
Hey, Horizon Ground, you on? Seattle Ground, I mean.
Who is transmitting on ramp?
Horizon Guy 449 Quebec X-ray.
Yeah, 449. What can I do for you?
Hey, I found myself in a bit of a predicament. I'm in the air right now and just kind of soaring around.
449, are you not supposed to be on that aircraft?
Yeah. I did a kind of a bad thing, kind of a selfish thing. But it's all good. I'm gonna go check out Rainier.
Yeah, 449, so you hijacked the plane is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm afraid I did.
What the hell? Holy shit. Oh my god.
The fucking Alaska Airlines Q400. What the fuck is he doing over here?
Any idea if a Dash 8 Q400 can do a barrel roll?
Just flying the plane around, you seem comfortable with that?
Oh, hell yeah. The black. I played video games before, so I know what I'm doing a little bit. Nah, everything's peachy. Peachy clean. Just did a little circle around Reindeer. It's beautiful. I think I got some gas to go check out the Olympics. And, yeah.
Well, if you can see the Olympics, the weather's good. I can see the Olympics from my window, and it looks pretty good over there.
I hit, felt like turbulent around Reindeer, but there's no clouds hardly.
Oh, that's just the wind blowing over all the bumpy surfaces there.
Oh, copy that. Man, have you been to the Olympics? You guys are gorgeous. Holy oh.
Yeah, I have been out there. It's always a nice drive.
This is probably like jail time for life, huh? I mean, I would hope it is for a guy like me. Damn it, ain't true. People's lives are at stake here.
Now, Rich, don't say stuff like that.
Nah, I didn't tell you. I don't want to hear that one. I just want you to whisper sweet nothings in my ear.
Hey, Rich, this is Captain Bill here. We're still listening. My airplane's doing just fine. How's yours?
I got a lot of people that care about me, and it's gonna disappoint them to you that I did this. I would like to apologize to each and every one of them. Just a broken guy. Got a few screws loose, I guess. Never really knew it till now. Hey, pilot guy, can this thing do a backflip, you think?
Well, I'd try to figure out how to use the autopilot first.
If you were to do it, how would you do it? Hey, you think if I land this successfully, Lap will give me a job as a pilot?
I think they would give you a job of doing anything if you could pull this off.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna land it, in a safe kind of manner. Think I'm gonna try to do a barrel roll, and if that goes good, not go nose down and call it a night.
Bigger Rockwer 1, POI 1 just completed a barrel roll. My flight chief did a barrel roll. 80 pearls, you cleared the surface of the water by approximately 10 feet. Foot Rock 2 from Rock 1 and the TOI 1 did a barrel roll and just barely missed hitting the water.
All right, Rick, this is Captain Phil. Congratulations. He did that. Now let's try to land that airplane safely and not hurt anybody on the ground.
All right. Damn it. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to. I was kind of hoping that was going to be it, you know? For long, I feel like one of my going out or something.
I've watched this like 20 times. Like, how does a guy... Oh my God. Like, oh my, I get kind of emotional like watching this because it's just like, I mean, he just did something that most pilots can't do. Like, that's an insane trick, right? Why was he doing the bags? Okay, I'm gonna bring up, I don't know, I want Doug MPA's take because I found out about this yesterday and I'm like, what the fuck? We could do a call-in show. Like, why do you think he did it? Like, let me read the comments. Oh shit. This is on X. Someone posted this on X. On this day in 2018, 28-year-old Richard Russell, forever known as Sky King, borrowed an airplane from the Seattle-Tacoma Airport for a joyride for over an hour before crashing onto a remote island. He did a pretty epic barrel roll. You wonder what it felt like in the sunset to pull back on that stick among the clouds, watching the horizon slip by as the plane came over, seeing the water rushing towards him, doubtful of whether or not he was going to make it. He only made that roll by a few degrees. It must have been the most exhilarating moment of his whole life. That altitude would have felt like kissing the water. It must have felt like destiny, the plane practically skimming the water, surrounded by the hills of the nearby island, slingshotting back out that right bank he made afterwards and all the speed he built from coming down. He clearly didn't expect to live. I was kind of hoping it would be over, you know. It must have felt like a rebirth, a total willingness to die, complete commitment to the cause, not expecting to avoid the water, and then incomprehensible exhilaration. Then only a few moments later, he crashes into an empty island, going out in the high note of his existence. In the moment of the image that it's used as a symbol, he is pulling back hard through a bank after that roll. I'm certain he has the biggest smile on his face and he felt totally free. Nobody can copycat what he did because he did it on total faith with no expectation of outcome. Rich was just a man trying to live. Others would just be men trying to be rich. Richard Sky King Russell is the spirit of every person alive today in the West who has that feeling, which is in more or less of us, that feeling of hopelessness and lack of purpose, where one has no choice but to serve the machine and be extracted for their worth before they are discarded, with the only thing to show for their toils the benefit of others' bank accounts. No personal achievements, no fulfillments, no feeling of being alive. But he made it. He got out. In the final act of a glorious rebellion, he slipped that surely the bonds of this earth we live on and took himself for the greatest freedom man has ever known. We're all Richard. We all suffer under the crushing weight of the 21st century life that we created. In short, our bodies last longer, but we never live. He lived, if only for a brief, beautiful moment. He lived truly as a free man, living man's oldest dream, completely free. He soared through the skies and put on his hand and touched the face of God. He is, without question, one of the greatest heroes to ever live, and his final act of rebellion is, to me, unironically, one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Let's see what else. Fly high, brother. The airframe should be completely incapable of the aerobatics that he pulled. Dude is a fucking legend. Sad story, but I don't blame him for ditching him there. That would have been an ungodly prison sentence. I'm curious if you guys have thoughts on how long you think his prison sentence would have been. I don't know why. Maybe it's the woman in me, but I feel as though it wouldn't have been life. I just don't know how anybody could hear that and not have sympathy for the guy. Some people are comparing him to George Floyd. I don't think he tried to land the airplane. I think he was trying to kill himself. let's be honest, it's rather clear from the audio from start to finish that he planned to kill himself. He went out in a fantastic way. I don't think he hurt anybody, so kind of was. All right. 10 years max. $15. So if he was about 30, let's say, by like the time the trial's done, because I think he was 28. 15 years, he's 45. Yeah, that kind of his life. Yeah. I'm gonna put the thing in the chat. But I don't know. I just keep I'm gonna watch one more video before I bring Doug up. I keep on I can't even put how much this has like taken over my mental space the last day. I stayed up so late last night because I just couldn't. I'm just like speechless. I don't even have words. It like gets me emotional watching the video. You think he would have gotten around 35 years?
Number one thing that correlates with male suicide is not depression. And this is super scary. There's one study I saw recently that suggests that 50% of men who kill themselves have no history or evidence of mental illness. I believe the statistic in my clinical practice because I know what depression looks like. I know what bipolar disorder looks like. And half the men that I've worked with, at least, are not actually mentally ill. See, mental illness means a pathology of the mind, which means that the mind is malfunctioning. Most of the suicidal men that I work with, their mind isn't malfunctioning. They genuinely have a life that is no longer worth living. They're looking at things and objectively realizing that there's no way out of the situation. So they turn to suicide. So I know it's kind of like a very controversial statement, but I think that's what my clinical practice has shown. And there's some research to even back that up. So if we sort of look at what's going on with men, they have nowhere to turn to. And the number one thing that correlates with it is not mental illness, but is a sense of thwarted belongingness. But basically what happens is what causes people to kill themselves is they try to connect with others and they get rejected. So the number one thing that correlates with male suicide is not depression. And this is super scary. There's one.
It's kind of crazy though, because he had friends. It wasn't like apparently he was at his high school reunion a little bit ago. So if any of you have ever had a friend commit suicide, or you know somebody that's been in that situation, or maybe you yourself have thought about it, just thoughts on the topic. You can, I'm going to put the link in the chat, and then Doug MPA is going to come up. All right, Doug MPA, give me your thoughts.
So, yeah, I'm from Western Washington. So I remember when this happened. And probably you got to understand Western Washington. Like, that's what I always tell black people that always talk about this white supremacy and white people have so privileged and stuff. The average person, particularly the average white guy, doesn't have a lot of privilege, if at all. The average white guy is just trying to get by. They're like Sky King, working some job, making $15 an hour. Oh, is my volume low?
Maybe a little bit. I can hear you okay.
Yeah, my microphone keeps.
I was just putting the link in the chat.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. It's a little higher.
The volume on my microphone keeps. Give me 1 second.
That's
Let me
okay.
drop out.
Okay, that's okay. If anyone else wants to call in, I don't have like a specific question, but just, I don't know, your thoughts on the story. If you know somebody that's in that situation, if you ever thought about suicide, what your mind was going through your mind. Cause I'm just watching this video and I'm like, this guy's funny. He's clearly talented, It's just crazy he did that, I think I watched this TikTok on it. I saw it on TikTok first. And It just is such a shame because he had his whole life ahead of him and you have no idea where it would have taken you, you know?
Okay. Is this better?
Keep talking.
Increasing the volume on my microphone.
Yeah, something's off.
Yeah.
Hear your phone. Usually my phone audio is not bad.
Yeah. I'll
You
do
wanna
that.
try?
I'll come back up. Yeah.
Devin Stack did a good video on him. Let me see it while we're waiting for Doug to. I'd never heard of this story. You guys think he was on drugs? Okay, so you think it's working a minimum wage job, underpaid, repetitive, no future prospects. It probably broke him. Like he had kids. It wasn't like he didn't have like he was married, he had kids, had friends. Yeah, I didn't see anything about a divorce. So maybe you think he was dominated by his wife? Most men are, right? You think she terminated him? Possibly, right? I just didn't, I like to give the benefit of the doubt, I wonder if Terrence is, this would be a good one for Terrence to call in on, actually. Where's my phone? I'm going to see if he's free. Give me a second. Are you busy now? I would love your commentary on Sky King if you have time. I'm going to send him the link. Emailing you link. If you have time, hop on. I'm kind of sporadic. I'm not the best to work with because I just sporadically stream. So it's like, okay, let me. Look on 4chan, the lore is there. Okay, 4chan. Can you, what should I put in? He didn't have a solid family. Okay, let's see. 4chan Sky King. Lore? Do I type in lore? The 4chan perspectives, it says, his actions were a desperate reaction to the hopelessness of being a white guy in a dead-end job. Russell became an avatar for the sometimes alt-right concept of the clown world, a term used to describe society perceived as absurd, chaotic, and hostile to certain individuals. His audio logs with the air traffic control Oh my God, did I accidentally X myself? Sorry, guys. My bad. I went on to 4chan. It just said, look at 4chan. The lore is there. Small William Bear is here. No, they didn't get me. I was. All right, Doug.
Okay. Is this better?
Yeah,
I
it's
hope so.
okay. It's a little bit off still, but it's not the worst. Like, I can understand you. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I gotta check and see why my microphone keeps turning down the volume when I'm on a StreamYard. Okay, so I'm black, and it always makes me laugh when black people talk about, oh yeah, white guys and white privilege. That's the average white guy is just a guy trying to make it. That's it. Makes about you know um 47,000 a year. Is in some dead end job. Is probably married to some bitch that can't stand him, but he's enduring for his wife and kids. That's what the average white guy is. And Sky King, he was living in Western Washington, guys. One of the most liberal, feminist garbage dumps in the West. Yeah. Uh, Sky King is the ultimate example, but the villainized white guys, and I have no idea why. The average white guy is not benefiting from white supremacy or the patriarchy or all this garbage. He was throwing bags for 3 years, throwing bags in the rain, in the cold, in the snow. That's the average life for the average man. It doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, white, black. He was the average guy.
What makes you think? Because most men have done like shitty jobs in their life, So what do you think pushed him over the edge? Like why? Like why did? Yeah, go ahead.
I think it was a combination of hopelessness and opportunity. I don't think that you should take yourself out, guys. I believe that one person can make a difference, and men. Most of the time, if you're feeling like this, you haven't found your purpose or you haven't found a passion. But every so often there's a person like this where they just don't see a way out. And a lot of us guys have that fantasy where have you seen that meme where like a lot of guys they want to go out in a blaze of glory, so they go out, facing a wave of like enemy soldiers with a rifle and grenades and stuff, and they want to go out like a blaze of glory. That's a fantasy of a lot of guys. It's just we don't act on it. Because remember, guys, you can't stop police people. A lot of guys, they think about this every day, but it's not a lot of guys who actually do it. It's like on Fight Club. You guys remember Fight Club? Tyler Durden said a lot of guys, talk to themselves and they do stuff that, or they're kind of mentally ill. But the guy from Fight Club was the guy that actually ran with like a split personality. A lot of guys related to Sky King. You're just on the nowhere train. And Sky King, he decided to get off the train. Once again, guys, I don't think that you should take yourselves out. Once again, if you find a purpose and a passion, or you divorce that bitch that has her boot on your neck, you can live a good life, guys. But he just decided, for his thoughts to turn into action. There are plenty of men who think like Sky King every day for 20, 30 years while they're going into the coal mines, while they're climbing the power poles, coming home to some bitch, yell and screaming at him.
Yeah, and there's no resources either, because I mean, before the red pill content, actually, that's actually a good question for you. Do you think there's been an increase in resources for men over the last 20 years because of the red pill? Like, do you think it's better for a guy today than it was like 10, 20 years ago? The same or worse?
So the key to red pill is men are better equipped to make decisions for them than 50 years ago. Because here's the thing, men are creatures of action. We're going to act. But remember, society wants men emasculated and ignorant and dumb. Because masculine, intelligent, well-informed men Society can't get away with a lot of stuff. Men hold people accountable. Men are disciplined. We impose structure, law, order, and that's even better when we have the knowledge to be able to make good decisions. Women can't be doing what they're doing. Society can't be doing what they're doing if it wasn't for so many emasculated, ignorant, stupid, unproductive men.
Yeah, and I don't think a man can really be blindsided the way he used to be. I guess maybe some men will simp through it all, right? But like, I don't think a man getting married today can say that he didn't see it coming, but a guy 30, 40 years ago, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, a guy today, I mean, he's probably seen his mother be a bitch, his grandmother be a bitch, and his great grandmother be a bitch. You know, maybe the great grandma wasn't, but like my grandma separated from, they weren't divorced, but my grandparents were separated before she died, you know, because she wouldn't listen to him, you know. Go ahead.
Well, think about this. So, believe it or not, there are less black men getting black women pregnant and making them single mothers than 20 years ago. And even if a young black boy or a black man growing up didn't have a father in the house, he's seen his sisters, his mother, his aunts, his grandmas, who were all single mothers, you know, getting dick down. And he's just like, I don't want to do that. So, you know, interacting with women and their foolishness can still make men change their decisions and how they navigate through life. And so, and here's the thing, guys. Channels like Pearl's, channels like mine, and other Red Pill channels, that I know you wouldn't say, oh yeah, just don't get married, don't have kids. That's the reality is, in my lifetime, because I'm in my mid 40s, in my lifetime, we're not going to see a below 50% marriage rate. Guys are still going to get married and still going to have kids. The goal is like Terrence Popp's goal. Terrence Popp wants to save as many lives as he can, because his goal is that way, because he's accepted that men are going to get to this place. He's here to help when they get there. You know, I'm the same way, guys. Like, men are going to keep getting married to these broads, keep having kids, but I just don't want to see these guys doing a Sky King, or, you know, crying into the front camera of their phones in their car. She left me. It's like, guys, you get married, but make sure to have a plan, not if, but when she leaves.
Terrence wants to actually have a 0% divorce and birth rate.
Yeah.
That's actually what he wants. Sign the petition to save the basketball court. Yeah, it'd be cool if we got 200 signatures. It's on my Twitter.
And that's the thing with when Rich Cooper was talking to Andrew Wilson, and Rich Cooper said, hey, like, I want there to be a 0% divorce rate.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew's like, that's not realistic. Oh yeah, we sure can. We sure can try, can't we? Because, guys, the divorce system is so bad, and divorce rate is so bad, that not one man should have to go through that. Not one. One is too many. One is too many, guys. So, you know, I don't want any man to have to go through divorce or go through what Sky King went through, and just be living an average dead-end life, and then just decide to get off the train. Like, one man doing this is too many.
Hold on. Did my coffee talk taken? No, it didn't. Okay. Sorry.
So yeah. If you'd asked me about Sky King,
God,
you know, he was just he got a degree in social sciences. He had like all these goals and stuff. But I'm telling you, like, living in Western Washington, you're a baggage handler for 3 years. He probably had all these, you know, all these expectations and people calling him a loser, and you know, and he's one of the evil white men who are supposed to have all this privilege and all this power and stuff, and he's like, look, man, I'm getting off this train.
If you can think of 3 stories, call in, tell me them, you know. Kyle, welcome to the show. Do you have a story, comment, or this is
Where
just
were you when the Sky King thing happened?
I was in college. Hello, Pearl. Hello, Doug. Yeah, I also was suicidal at one point, and for me, I got really sick, and I just kind of felt like because of that, I wasn't gonna do the things I wanted. I wasn't gonna be able to do the things I wanted to do, and I think for Sky King, it was a combination of like not having purpose and also not feeling like he was wanted, kind of like what Doug was saying.
How close were you to actually committing?
I never had a serious attempt, but I thought about it for a very long time.
And did your life like improve after? Did you find purpose after?
Yes, I found purpose. I'm going to school for engineering right now, and it was kind of just family and seeing my brother, my younger brother, do really well. Kind of encouraged me to stick with it and keep going. And now I'm in a much better place.
What age were you considering it? And then what age what age did your life turn around?
So when I was seriously considering it, I was like 13, 14, and things started turning around when I would say like 20, 21.
Okay. Got it. So why do you think he did it? You think it was something similar?
I think for him it was lack of purpose and also just not being wanted, right? Like he's in an area where people like him are kind of demonized. And so for men, I think it's really hard when you don't feel like you're contributing or like you don't feel like you're wanted.
Yeah.
And I would juxtapose that with working hard. You're working hard, coming home tired every day, and you just feel like you're not contributing, you're not making a difference. There's no way to happiness or satisfaction or fulfillment. It's like men, a lot of us, how we got here in society, Pearly. Men have sacrificed their emotional, mental, physical, monetary, and spiritual health for God, country, community, family, children, and women.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still going on right now. But the biggest difference now is women are shitting on men. Society are putting women over men, and these men are still, the cost is still the same for men.
Kyle, when you considered it, did women play a factor in it at all? Was it because you're only 13 or 14?
Yeah.
Where did you feel like you weren't getting ahead? Was it dating? Was it like you weren't doing well in school?
Yeah, I mean, it was just I wasn't doing well in school. Never really did well with girls at that age. But funnily enough, it was a woman that like couldn't kind of kept me around. My mom was like a huge part of like the reason I stayed, like my support system at home. And so I wonder if for Sky King, if he had a effective support system at home with like his wife and his kids, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay. Well, thanks for calling in, Kyle. I'm glad things got better for you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
And thanks
it.
for still being here, man. We really appreciate you still being here, man. Honestly.
Yeah, you're stuck with me now. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Great call. See that, guys? That was a really good call. Yeah, guys, call in. Tell me, have you ever considered suicide? If you have, what changed your mind? Or do you have a friend, a close family member, either committed or tried? 2 attempts here. I'm glad they didn't work. Things are far more manageable now. I got a dog, and the difference to my life is stark. She's amazing.
I would also say, guys, any of the young men in your lives, whether they're your sons, nephews, or whatever, you got to tell them that men used to be the best version of themselves for a legacy, for women, for family. Women have rewritten that social contract, guys. They need to be the best version of themselves because they have a obligation to just being a man. Be the best version of yourself, not for women, not for family, because you might not get one, but you can still find purpose and still do your best.
Had a lot of military friends commit it. All of them had similarities. Well, what are the similarities? Call in. I'm telling you. The closest thing I know of people turning to suicide is becoming a crackhead. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I just see a lot of men struggling from, I told you my favorite saying is The 20th century was women rewriting the social rules to society, and the 21st century is going to be men responding. And so we're still having men just trying to figure out, you know, if I might not have a family, or the family I have is terrible and doesn't appreciate me. Like, what do I do?
Trump has been, do you agree with this? Trump bringing back the war is the best thing for men's morale. They see a purpose growing on the horizon. Agree or disagree?
I mean, foreign wars, though, you know, like another sandbox. I don't know about that, man. Like, you know, there has to be a way for men to find a purpose besides going to some sandbox and some freaking desert hellhole and getting shot up. You know what I'm saying?
Doug, do you know anyone that was going to commit suicide?
I knew a guy when I was young, and he worked at the bank I went to. He was in his mid-20s, and he took himself out. And he was actually dating one of my friends at the time, and she didn't see it coming.
Really? Was she
Yeah,
a bitch or?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think she drove him to it, or do you think it was?
Well, so the friend of mine, she was a very good-looking girl, and you know, like in high school at 8, but when she got older at 7, and she got like fake boobs and everything, and this guy was just like a schlub. Like she was out of his league, and I mean, I don't know how that played into it, but he was kind of a fatter, kind of mousy kind of guy, and then he gets with this girl who's fake boobs and kind of plastic and stuff like that, and just the dynamic was just really weird. I remember seeing it together. I'm like, how does that work? Like, what?
Similarities, lack of is this, would you agree with this? One of the guys in the chat says the similarities in his friends that committed suicide or lack of discipline, decline in health, and zero social support.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If you have a friend that was in decent shape and he really starts to let his health go, and or you know, who has a regimen and stops doing that regimen, you got to look into, you got to see if he's okay. Like if you're a gym buddy that just stops going to the gym for 4 or 5 months without an injury, or you know, he's gained like a whole bunch of weight or something like that, yeah, you got to check in on him.
Is this Sean?
Yeah. What's going on?
What's up, man?
What's your thought on the topic? Why do you think Sky King did it? Do you know anybody that's committed? And you yourself, have you ever thought about committing? General thoughts on the topic. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for Sky King, it's just hard for somebody to figure that out. It's all in your head. So whatever the reason he did it is, you know, with him. So nobody would know that. As far as have I had other people? Yeah, as a combat veteran, right? Even having PTSD, you have thoughts of these different things. I had friends that do it, not so direct, maybe like OD, right? Through drugs. So they took the kind of a slow, long way out. It's a very complex thing, especially, you know, I always tell men, it's funny because the mind is so marvelous. We can do a lot of great things. Like we can create reusable rockets, but with the same mindset, you can also delete yourself. And so if it goes into a place, it could take you there, and you have to be careful dealing with such things. But I always think it's about lens and perspective. I have thought about that, of course, in my long life, coming back from Iraq, trying to grapple with everything. And not only coming back from Iraq, I spent years in clandestine operations. So I've seen things that you don't even know exist. Senators don't have a top secret security clearance. But it takes a while to actually get what's in your mind, or what used to be in your mind, attached to the reality and be able to stabilize yourself.
Why do you think veterans struggle so much? Is it just like they get nightmares when they get back and they can't handle it? Or like, what is it like their wife coming at them? Like, just in your experience, anecdotally, why do they struggle so much with it?
In my experience, they struggle with it because they can't balance their mindset with reality. So they had some conditioning, which is probably like, you know, we only go to wars for peace and love, or hey, you know, whatever the reason is, right? Like you thought you were going to war, and when you go and you figure out that that's not the reason, or you don't agree with things that had happened, and you've seen what the true conditions of war are, it's not, you know, COD, it's not Call of Duty, it's far from Call of Duty. Then you go back to the States, and then the conduits are, you know, from my experience, when I was getting back from Iraq, you know, our commanders told us like, hey, don't go get help. Don't, you know, don't do none of that psycho BS stuff. And they weren't being evil. They were trying to help us, because back then it was a stigma that came with it. So your career was basically done if you did have issues. But net, a lot of people are just trying to deal with that. How do they call themselves a good human, or, you know, was it just? And that's the issue. And then you're kind of isolated. Imagine, you know, you're in charge of $1 billion equipment, you're getting explosions, you're seeing your brothers pass away, and then you go back and you're at Walmart and you see people like having a meltdown because maybe the beans are not available in aisle 7. Like, it's just a big change that, you know, a lot of veterans can't connect to anymore. They're still in the battlefield.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, Johnny, oh my gosh, we had, you know, Becky, she had a terrible day today. Did you know what happened at school? And he's like, really? You know, like, it's so disconnected.
So did you know anybody that actually ended up going through with it fully?
Yeah, my battle buddy not too long ago. So that's what caused my issues. Actually, I was pretty good for a long time. But when he passed away, he did it slow, but he OD'd over a long period of time.
What was the catalyst for him, would you say? Was it like getting divorced? Was it what you just described?
I think it was just a loss of purpose of life and a hard time dealing with things that he dealt with when we was downrange. And, you know, he was on an Indian reservation, so it kind of sucks balls there. So he was there. And you know how that kind of, those reservations do have like those dark holes in them, right? Like Native Americans are either drinking or they're doing drugs.
I've heard
the reservations suck.
I've heard the crime rate is worse than the hood, actually, in reservation.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I don't know if that's true, but I've heard it's worse than the south side of Chicago. No idea if that's true. Just something I heard.
Yeah. No, it's pretty bad, man. So he went there, and it was kind of just like, wasn't a great environment to put yourself in. But that's where his family was. So
I've tried unaliving myself 4 times. The last time was only 6 months ago. I think it's a fear that we aren't good enough, and it's only a matter of time before everyone sees us as not worthy of anyone's love.
Yeah. Do you remember the whole Sky King thing, like in 2018? Sean, do you remember that whole thing when it played out?
No, it's probably downrange. So 2008. No.
I'll be right back. Doug MPA, 1 second.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm from Western Washington, and guys, it's a liberal freaking hellhole, dude. It's a liberal feminist hellhole. And you know, I tell all you guys, if you live in California, Oregon or Washington, just move. If you can, just move.
Yeah, true.
So, God, I don't know why my microphone keeps turning down. What's going on? So, but yeah, you know, I was talking earlier about the whole, you know, the average white guy. He's just trying to get by. Man, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm gonna get back on my phone.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's a big serious thing. But I think also, I think somebody in the chat was just saying it, like, when it comes down to it, we're not entitled to anything. And so once you kind of get your grips around that, you can build out your life any way you see fit. But you're not entitled to a great family. You're not entitled to kids. You're not entitled to anything. We just got to work our way through that. I don't know if Sky King was able to remember that or if he lost that, and that's what happened. But everything is just speculation. We won't know. Only he will.
I
But
watched.
I think
I
okay,
watched it
go
like.
ahead.
I watched it like 10 times. I could.
Yeah, I could see you were kind of really captured by it. You was just watching it.
Okay, yeah, I gotta figure out why my microphone and my computer's so low. But anyway,
It might sound a little bad, but I kind of use OPE. I don't know if you ever heard of OPM, like other people's money, but I use OPE, other people's experience, a lot of time. That helps me a lot. Back then, it really helped me get out of the phases because it was just like I would look over and I'll see some kid with like stage 4 cancer, and then I'm like looking at what I'm going through, and then just have a comparison. Like, damn, at least I got to live life and be a 25-year-old, and this person's going out and they're age 5, and then they're still probably having a good attitude. I remember seeing people with like no legs get in a car accident and they can't walk anymore. And I'm
yeah,
like, how are you happy? You have no legs.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. If you ever meet the kindest people ever are people that were once really sick. I don't know if you ever
Yes.
met someone like I have a cousin he almost died. He got to like Make-A-Wish and everything. And they did some experimental like leukemia treatment. And he's like one of the few kids that like beat leukemia and went on to like live a full life and stuff. But he's always like the nicest guy because he's just so grateful to be like when they've like fought for just to like breathe and live like that, they just become such humble people. They don't want to fight about anything because it's not worth it.
Or like, imagine you're staring death in the eye. Well, two things. So, when I was an undergrad, I worked at a Lowe's, and uh, I always like to work outside on the garden register because I was a cashier, and I always remember this guy. Especially in the summertime, where it was really, really hot in the summertime, and no one wanted to go out there. But I was like, well, let me just go out there so I could space out or whatever. And so this guy, he would come in. He had this really nice house, and he was completely redoing his backyard. This older guy, and he'd always need bricks, whatever, and there'd be no one out there. So he'd always, I'd have to call for the forklift driver, and it would take him forever to get out there. So we started talking and stuff, and I would always apologize for it taking so long for him to get his bricks, whatever. And this white guy, he was nice as hell. He's like, son, why do you always apologize? I said, well, you're always waiting out here. He's like, son, look, let me tell you. When I was young, I was a hothead. I used to fight everybody, yell and scream, whatever. Then I got drafted, and I did 2 tours in Vietnam. Yeah. And he said, you know what? He's like, I came back from that. I've never been upset since. He's like, all that was lost in Vietnam. He's like, I was fortunate enough to make it through 2 tours. Life is precious, and I still have my life. And I always remember when he said that. But then I can also say I met this kid when I was young, and he had this rare disease, and he had to have this medication, and he had a allergic reaction to the medication, so he had a stroke, and he had to learn to walk and talk again and stuff. And I saw him when he had just got out of the hospital. He was learning how to walk again. Then I started working with him at this job, and he was an asshole. And I'm like, didn't you survive cancer or something? Why are you such a dickhead? Yeah, so I mean, I think the majority of the time it's like what you're talking about, but there are some people where their
They're pissed.
assholeness will shine through. Yeah.
They're pissed they got it. Well, that's really all my thoughts on the topic. I just wanted to do a stream on it because I just couldn't believe. I was just kind of speechless when I saw the story because I'd never heard of it. Go ahead.
And this happened back in 2018. So, yeah, a lot of us guys, we know about Sky King, and so sometimes you want to get off the train, but guys, stay on the train. It'll get better, man. Don't you can't contribute if you're not here. And honestly, one person can make a difference, guys. And it could be you. So stay as long as you can for the people that love you to love you as long as you can. And I'll say one last thing. Whenever polled, men say that they want a wife and kids, or they're prioritizing family more than women. I think it's like 58% to like 22%, right? And women are like, see, that's proof that men need women and women don't need men. Men are going to be honest and say they want a wife and children, although they can accept that they're never going to get one. Men are honest. We are realistic. Women are so delusional that only 22% of women will say that they want a family and children. When I would argue it's probably 80%. Understand what I'm saying, guys? Um, accept what you can. Accept what you can. Work hard and do your best to get what you can out of life, and accept what you can't. You know.
Yeah. Sean, you got any final thoughts on the topic?
Yeah, I mean, just something that I utilized was OPE, just other people's experience. If you have empathy, you can really tap into that as a superpower, which I did. When I got back, I was always looking at it through the lens of why did I survive? And I just changed that lens, which is all my other battle buddies didn't. And I'm blessed to be alive, so I need to live life for them. And so they would, give probably everything if they could have been the ones to survive, but they didn't. And so net, what do I look like, offing myself after they, you know what I'm saying? They didn't have a choice in that situation. And so I kind of just, changed my lens and my perspective on it and stop being so me, and really look at the grander picture. And I think what Doug just said, what you just said, everybody has their own ride. But I think when you really tap into your potential and do the best that you can do and worry about your mind, I call it going to the mental lab and doing the interior work, that's the only person that owes you anything in this world. Nobody else, period. You owe yourself that utopia, that paradise. What women do, what my family do, what the next person does is irrelevant. It's all about what you're going to do with this life. And I'm telling you, you can create Garden of Eden right here on earth with your own life. So I'd say that I suggest that you go out there and go get it and enjoy it, brother.
Yeah. I'm saying one last thing. I'm sorry, guys. We're fucking men, right? Men, we change the world. We build society. You were born a man, right? Like being a man is like the greatest journey we could possibly have. Men, men's names ring through the annals of history. You know what I'm saying? Great men. You are a man. Embrace it. Sack up. Do your best. You don't have to conquer the world, but just do your best. And I'm going to say it one last time. Men of the past, you should try to do their best for a family, women, and children. Now that that's changed, do it for yourself. Do it because you're a fucking man.
Cool. Thanks for calling in, guys.
Cool. Of course. Peace.
My final thought is that life is short. Try divorce. Look, if a woman's driving you, right? Try a divorce. Try that first. Not saying it's always married men that do, but if you're a married guy and your wife is torturing you at home, try divorce first. Try it. I mean, you can off yourself after the divorce. If it gets too bad, you know what I mean? You can do it later. Try it. Try divorce. Try, applying for something you're not qualified for. You never know. Try it. Maybe don't steal a plane, but try something crazy. What if he took that energy that he did stealing a plane and just tried to, do something crazy like, I don't know, stalk the CEO of the company you want to work for or some bullshit. I don't know. Try it. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Like the video if you can. Subscribe to the channel. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.